Welcome everybody. I've got some really cool and simple buffs for Alolan Ninetales. Keep in mind that this is a ROM hack balanced for in-game use. Not that any of these buffs are outwardly broken or overpowered at all, because they're not, but just wanted to give that as a little disclaimer for anybody who's new here. And also, if you are new here, or if you're a regular viewer and have just yet to do so, I highly encourage you to check out that Google Sheet in the description. It's extremely detailed. It takes me a lot of work to make it, and most importantly, there is a move guide right here. I have buffed and changed 600 plus moves in this ROM hack. It's not your average run-of-the-mill ROM hack. I put a lot of thought into literally everything, even like the little nitty-gritty things that people probably won't even notice. So definitely make sure you give it all a look. It's all listed out right here. All of these crazy move categories, it's all organized for your viewing convenience. So yeah, do give those a look. Organized by type and category and all this other fun stuff. With that being said, though, Alolan Ninetales, very straightforward buffs. Number one, Aurora Veil is reteachable via TM, which I forget if Aurora Veil was a TM in Gen 7. It might have been, but if it was, then nothing learned it for some reason. So either way, it's the same idea. So snow warnings, that's the main use of snow warning. Of course, you get things like Blizzard not missing, but Blizzard's a late game TM. You get things like Hail Chip, but it's like, okay, whatever. And no, I don't have the hacking capabilities in a 3DS ROM hack to make snow or hail work like it does in Gen 9. Sadly, that would be super sick, but it's pretty cool nonetheless, because Ice type in this hack is buffed. Ice actually has resistances now. It resists flying, ground, Dragon, and Ice. Dragon might seem questionable, but I will elaborate more on that in another video one day. I also have a little text guide explanation on the Google Sheet if you're curious. I'm not going to get into it here. Also because it doesn't matter anyways. You're a part fairy type, so you're dragon regardless. So you're now resistant to dark, neutral to fighting, resistant to dark. What else do you resist? Flying, ground, and is that it? Yeah, because you don't resist bug anymore. Fairy no longer resists bug. So yeah, Ice, ground, flying, and dark are your resistances, which are pretty good resists. Pretty damn solid. And that's nice for Alolan Ninetales and any other ice types for that matter. Snow Warning, Aurora Veil plus Parting Shot. Beautiful, easy, simple combination. Very easy to use. Keep in mind there are a lot of crit moves in this hack that will bypass through screens and defensive boost and all this other stuff. There's a whole list of them on the Google Sheet of moves that will always crit, especially First Impression, that will always crit and, kind of shit on any type of screens, but that's only for one turn, so, you can still counterplay around it, and it doesn't make dual screens or Aurora Veil any less good, because it's not like every move in the game does that. They're just, pretty common moves. Just makes, otherwise, like, using Veil against the AI is so free and, like, brainless, like, you just click it and you're taking, like, no damage on everything. Because the AI doesn't have any little counterplay to that besides like a couple specific niche moves, which aren't actually bad anymore. They are higher base power, getting break, and psychic things, but in general, the Veil is going to stay up, and that's really good with Snow Warning. That's the main use. Otherwise, it's just gimmicky things. Weather Ball is really good, actually. Weather Ball is probably the second best use over even Blizzard, because Blizzard, like I said, is late game, which not that it's bad. It's just not something you should be thinking of for most of the game. You're only going to have that for Pony Island and onwards. But Weather Ball being a TM on like literally every single special attacker in the game is great. That's really cool. Not to mention Icy Rock is also buffed to extend it to basically instead of giving 3 extra turns, it gives 6. I did this because the ROM hack is balanced around Nuzlocke, specifically not for experienced players. It's kind of balanced around Team Locked Nuzlocke, so you don't have to go and kill off a Mon to go add a Hail Setter or Sun Setter or whatever. So the Icy Rock and all the other rocks are buffed in that regard. So you can use stuff like Sunny Day and Rain Dance and actually have it be viable. You can use those, and then you can Parting Shot, which most Pokemon get. Parting Shot, Volt Switch, or U-Turn via TM. You can use any of those moves to switch into your abuser of that weather. So that's really cool. That's a nice little buff for Snow Warning as well. As for your other ability, it is Serene Grace, a very obvious choice for Alolan Ninetales. I don't think I need to elaborate on why I chose that. But there's a lot of cases where Snow Warning won't be the best option, or where Aurora Veil won't be the best option for certain boss fights. You might not need it. You might rather have the Serene Grace stuff. It's still a bit situational, but the hail might hinder one of your strategies. Let's say your strategy hinges on you switching in a certain Pokemon with a Focus Sash to live a certain hit and then kill it off with a certain move, something like that. The hail would screw that over because your Focus Sash would be broken from that. So yeah, other stuff like that. Just taking chip in general might not be ideal. And then of course it might override another weather that you might want to use. So all Ninetales good Pokemon even outside of the Hail. It has a good special attack stat now, and a greater, even better special defense stat, and it has good resistances and good utility moves like Parting Shot and Moonlight and Charm and Priority Haze and all this other fun stuff that you could take advantage of. Late game, it does get Enchantment to make it even more worth it over Cantonian Ninetales, because Cantonian Ninetales has the boost from the Sun. Well, of course, Alolan Ninetales has the great support from Veil, but I still feel like it's a little bit on paper worse. Obviously, I wouldn't say anything is worse or better. I balance everything to be useful and good, but Enchantment just helps to give it that little bit of edge. Enchantment will give you +1 speed. Sorry, it's basically Geomancy, okay? Enchantment is Geomancy, but it only gives you +1 speed. So it's, I mean, when you're already at 109 base speed, you're outspending everything at +1 anyways in this hack. So regardless, that's a great move. Definitely worth using. You are still vulnerable to First Impression and all these other strong physical priority moves, but you know, for certain boss fights, you can at least kill like 3 or 4 Pokemon with an Enchantment Alolan Ninetales. You just have to be smart and plan out the fights accordingly. You do have good coverage moves. I didn't cover the good uses of Serene Grace yet, but the main uses are moves like Dazzling Gleam, which will give you a special attack boost 50% of the time with Serene Grace and 25% of the time otherwise. Extra Sensory, which will flinch 60% of the time, and then Ice moves can hacks and freeze 20% of the time. Definitely not worth banking on. It's more for the AI to use against you and annoy you, because, good lord, if you're playing Hardcore Nuzlocke and you're banking on a 20% freeze as your main strategy, that's not optimal whatsoever. Otherwise, though, you've got solid coverage. You know, you've got Aura Sphere, Psychic, Shadow Blow, Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, Water Pulse, which Water Pulse and Ominous Wind, as well as Aurora Beam and Disarming Voice and Dismal Cry all drop the attack and special attack of the opponent by 1. But those are all really good. You also have Energy Ball for coverage, Freeze Dry, blah blah blah. You guys get the idea. It's pretty straightforward for Alolan Ninetales, so I'm not going to drag it on too much longer. I can touch on a few other cool moves like Freezer Burn, which is really good, especially for totems. That is a 180 base power move that will always burn the opponent. That's 2 turns. Comes from Ice Burn. So with the Power Herb, you can use that against, you know, certain boss fights to burn something. And then you have Moon Blast, which has a 60% chance to out special attack, but it does have a 5% chance to miss. But it's really strong, so you know, it's up to you which one you want to use. Frost Breath is pretty cool in conjunction with Flare Cannon. Flare Cannon dropping your special attack stat by 2, and then Frost Breath ignoring the special attack drop. Not that 2 Flare Cannons in a row is bad. 2 Flare Cannons in a row is stronger than 2 Moon Blasts in a row, and 2 Radiant Edges in a row, and definitely 2 Dazzling Winds in a row, because it's 150 base power. It's 225 base power after 2 uses, so still a really good move, even on the second turn. After the second use, you probably have to switch out, but yeah. Pretty straightforward though. I don't really know what else to say. I guess I could say Glaciate is pretty cool. 110 base power, 90% accurate, drops speed by 2. Of course, Blizzard is very reliable and 120 base power, you know, with literally 0 drawbacks when you're running Snow Warning, but of course that's only a TM and it's later on. Glaciate will be pretty significantly earlier by level up than Blizzard, so yeah. It's a good option for a long time. Of course, Freeze Dry and Frost Breath and Ice Beam are still there, and Aurora Beam, and those are all these other good ice moves. You do have priority, which every single Pokemon in this game gets at least some form of priority, usually several, with Alolan Ninetales having Frost Fury and Pixie Dust, so those are pretty cool. Yeah, I've covered pretty much everything. Setup is good on this guy still. Setup is nerfed in this fact that it has less PP, and that the AI is like the climate of what the AI is using against you is pretty hostile, so setting up won't be as easy, especially in hardcore Nuzlocke when you can't let your Pokemon faint, but you know, it's still doable. You can definitely cheese for certain fights or, you know, plan it out properly, but yeah, you do have Nasty Point and Calm Mind was my point, which is good coverage. Sorry, good setup. Yeah, and then good coverage, of course, Energy Ball, Aura Sphere, all that fun stuff like I said earlier. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave the video off there. Thank you for listening. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and I'll be back for more Kanto videos coming up. Peace, y'all.